Well, we had to wait a long time to see Direwolves back in action, and certainly not the start they were hoping for, as they got absolutely annihilated at max in game number 1. We saw a Kindred that went completely unleashed, very much a Solid QS style of gameplay, where 12 stacks were accrued in as many minutes, you'd have to say. And for the rest of the team, I mean, it was an Udyr that got countered in draft with that spicy red side 5th pick, but ultimately it didn't amount for much.
Yeah, it didn't amount for much at all, really. It felt like Mammoth from the minute go were just the superior team. The only real dying light for Direwolves was Katsuri towards that bot lane that Xayah was holding out for so long, alone in a sea of gold graphs atop that for the Direwolves, but unfortunately was not enough in the face of the sheer lead that Mammoth were able to build up for themselves off the back of a fantastic performance from Gudo and Asta.
Does beg the question then, what are we going to see coming out from the Mammoth camp as they will take to the Rift again and get to show us, okay, what does it look like this time around? As Direwolves get to do a draft from the blue side. In terms of the bans we saw from Direwolves last game, it was the Kalista, Karma, as well as the Varus. Given that the sides have switched around, they're going to change their bans up.
Bans will be switched up a little bit here. Obviously, Mammoth, they talked about it a little bit in the pre-game interview with Asta, but they lose their one ban to the week 1 incident that happened there. So only 2 means that there still is going to need to be some respect shown with this Riven ban. Not wanting River on that, despite, you know, you'd have to say a pretty catastrophic Fiora performance in game 1, still showing that they do value that Riven pick being taken away. Now the Udyr as well is an adaptation coming through. We saw how much value Nectar was able to produce from that pick. River saying he does not want to go up against that again.
Yeah, certainly not keen on it, and I like the fact that was one of the key picks for me. I wanted to see them look to try and deny away, but at the same time, Emma's still showing a fair bit of respect to this Riven. With only 2 bans available to them, it's going to be the Riven and the Orianna that they'll eventually settle for. Now, still with all those fantastic champions up and available for Emphis, we mentioned it before, Syndra one of his go-tos, but same could be said for the likes of an Ahri and the LeBlanc. But the Karma, not banned away. We joke about it for Shinky, but it's just such a strong champion.
It really is, but that leaves a Varus open, and Ashe Varus is something we haven't seen for so long because of how potent a duo it is. Not only do you have fantastic range, not only do you have fantastic poke, but once you hit level 6, the lockdown that can come through is unmatched with both of those ultimates. So yes, you get the Karma, but the price that you pay is pretty high.
It is pretty high, yeah. You've certainly opened the door for making life very difficult for Katsuri. And I do start to wonder then if this Lucian is always designed to go bot lane, or if that is a flexible champion. Either way though, the Bard is currently being hovered, and I wonder if we are actually going to get a double support comp to really all in on the Katsuri show.
Yeah, we absolutely might. This Jax, rather Lucian, something that we haven't seen for a while now, that will be brought out here, and it is going to be the Milio that it's paired with, so a really common Lucian pairing because it provides so much offensive utility, right? Those warm hugs that you're able to provide as the Milio are going to empower this Lucian as he dashes forward. And keep in mind, his opponents in the bot lane are very squishy. Yes, they have a lot of damage and a lot of poke, but they are also capable of falling down if you do hit them with a full Lucian combo. So Karma still reserved for a solo lane. Will be interesting to see where that one ends up.
Yeah, it is a good question as to are we going to see it flexed in the mid lane? We know that Emphis in the past was certainly quite keen to pick up some supportive style champions and be there almost as like an emergency medic to rotate to any lane that was needed, and certainly made him a very strong threat when he was paired up with the jungler too in terms of influencing that potential fight. Well, into the second half of the ban phase then. Mammoth going to say, well, in terms of more of these bruises, we still do respect what River has to offer, so Aatrox needs to be taken off the board.
Aatrox will be the pick as well. You just don't want to give over all that damage into an already squishy comp, right? A lethality build Aatrox could certainly run rampant among those members, as well as having a pretty decent laning phase into the Gnar. Now, jungle will be the target from the Direwolves here, wanting to remove that Vi. A very nice pick to take away, just denies the lockdown, the easy access onto that Lucian with that ultimate, so Vi will not be seen this game. What does Gudo go towards? He had such a fantastic game in game 1. I wonder whether he wants to stick to the carry trade or whether he's happy facilitating for this game too.
And that is the question. Does he want to go something like a Viego to try and get the resets in a squishy opposition, or do they have too much mitigation with a double support? Would it be the Zen? No, decides to actually go for his best champion, which actually, to be fair, is the best of both players. They've both played it as their most played. 17 games for Gudo and 30 Lee Sin games for Lisa. So a hotly prized pick. And yeah, what is the matchup into that?
You do wonder now what Lisa wants to go towards. There are still picks like Poppy that are available, pretty decent in shutting down the Lee Sin in a 1v1. But it looks like it'll be a bit of a change of pace here. Never mind, the second I say that, River doubling down on this carry playstyle, goes the Yone into Na. So kind of like the Aurelia into Na, it's a very volatile matchup, right? He certainly is capable of running this Na down in those extended trades if Nectar is not careful. And the Sejuani coming through to pair nicely with that melee champion they've just picked up. Yeah,
going to be quite nice in terms of looking to try and keep the Lee Sin locked down, but at the same time, a clear indication that top lane is my focus, as that's going to be the easiest way for me to go for that melee matchup to guarantee that the stun proc will occur. So it's going to be too easy for this Nard to excel, but the LeBlanc comes out to round it out completely. A double support comp with two really strong carries in the Lucian and Yone to try and empower, but at the same time for Mammoth, they've got poke, harass, and a really strong wombo.
They do have a nice little combo that they have crafted for themselves. Particularly, it's about pushing the pace, pushing the priority, and really moving with this mid jungle. When you see a Lee Sin LeBlanc locked in, you're always thinking, how are they going to influence the rest of the map? That's really the important question, because yes, you know, you can find kills in the mid lane, but against the Karma, that prospect is a little bit harder. So I do expect this Gudo and Dajong duo to be linking up, trying to get towards this bot lane where Duck and Asta should hopefully have a lead prepared. And then we already know what we can do when a Varus gets ahead. It's a very scary prospect, one of the Direwolves will be looking to avoid at all costs.
Talk to me about this jungle matchup. From my basic understanding, it's a pretty rough in a 1v1 sense, right, for the Sejuani to take on the Lee Sin. It feels almost like we're running it back with the previous game, where the Kindred can absolutely shut down the Jarvan.
Yeah, it's a bit less like completely one-sided. I think Sejuani, if she meets a Lee Sin 1v1 and it is a pure 1v1, she's kind of fine with just CCing him and running away. Lee Sin, unless he's incredibly ahead, won't really be able to solo kill Sejuani. The danger really comes about him just outpacing her and really being able to fight and find more damage in these fights, because that is what the Lee Sin offers. And when you have so many squishy and mobile members like the Direwolves do, Lee Sin can have a lot of value in these fights, kind of dancing around the edge, almost like an assassin, whereas Sejuani is much more confined to hitting that front line, hitting those targets and stacking up that permafrost. So we'll wait to be seen. I know there is certainly a number of highlight plays that have come out of Gudo on this Lee Sin, and we'll wait to be seen what he can do here in Game 2.
Certainly will wait to see what can happen. And in that same conversation, also I'm really curious to see what kind of build we get out of this Karma, because the go-to AP variant will certainly be the likes of a Malignance, Horizon Focus, and a Morello's to make sure you got utility and damage across the board with so much CDR. But there's certainly a case to be made that you could actually go into a very supportive build and once again double down on the fact that we've got shields and all these cooldowns to make sure that our Yone and Lucian can 1v9. Certainly a very different take on how they want to approach things here in game number 2. It was a very one-sided affair though for Mammoth, as they come into this one with a different tune of their own, a Varus Ashe that looked to really do it all, as that is the lane that we target at the level 1.
You can see the double Doran's Blade here from Mammoth, and opting to not take the support item and instead go for the combat power that those two starter items provide you. River will get found out here, but nothing too much to be expected as he does dodge the Q. A nice little tread for himself to start off the game, but we already mentioned how important this bot lane would be, how volatile it can be given every single member down there is squishy. So those extra combat stats from Mammoth will be all important in securing priority, in securing the push in this lane.
That's what it's going to come down to once again, isn't it? The fact that the lanes can get broken open that easily. It just provided too much pressure for Mammoth to exert and do as they please. And certainly, it's a clean slate and a great chance now for Direwolves to showcase really what they have been working on behind the scenes with the roster shuffle, with all these games away from the limelight. A roster that feels a little bit more fitting now, you'd say, here, with Emphis, despite being a carry player, should be quite familiar with the LeBlanc matchup, given it's one of his best.
Yeah, I would say his best, right? The champion he always tended to gravitate towards on his earlier splits. And Karma as well, something he's quite familiar with, so definitely a mid lane in which he has experience. The question is, though, how does he contend? Because in the 1v1, you're kind of fine against the LeBlanc, right? The only danger really comes when a Lee Sin starts to get involved, when you start to have those chains coming through, chaining into a Sonic Wave. And that's when you can really start falling down. But you can see River will force the hop start out of Nectar here. A nice little adaptation from this top laner to avoid taking a dangerous trade in the early game.
And it certainly is one of those cases for River. I hate him, I love him. It's always a case of I'm going to be aggressive no matter what I am playing. Even if I'm sure he's forced to play something like a Cho'Gath, it would probably be a carry at the same time. No need for a bruiser. Lisa has it all stolen away by Dajong. And life in the jungle doesn't get much easier.
I mean, that's huge, Skimmy, because that means Lisa doesn't tick level 3 after clearing those 3 camps. It means that his ganking now is very far delayed. There's a bit of trading in the bot lane. But it means that this Sejuani will be even further behind compared to this Lee Sin, who is already feeling pretty nice on his 4th camp now. Sorry, just finished his 4th camp and making his way down towards the bot side. There's a stacked wave. Gudo looks like he wants some blood.
Certainly is keen. A start this strong would really put them in good stead again. The harass that can come out from these two is enough to make sure that they're low enough for Gudo to secure the kill. With that Sonic Wave, Asta gets the aggro, dashing away, safeguard to safety, and it is executed perfectly.
Oh, Skimmy, he flashes into the Lee Sin Q. That absolutely hurts from the Direwolves bot lane. Simply just a nice path there from Gudo. Realizes that Lisa is going to be topside. There won't be a jungle answer to the stacking wave that's coming in, and we can take a look at it again. So it starts off with a nice little aggro tank from Asta here, and the Q, crucially from Gudo, he throws it quite a far ways away, but still lands, still picks up the kill, and thanks to some nice turret aggro juggling, they managed to get out without a single death.
Yeah, so squishy at the level 3 mark, but the ability to do enough damage to get the aggro to flash away and to live to fight another day is, yeah, pretty remarkable. But it does mean that Asta can go back to base now, pick up that support item, and feel rewarded by the fact that they do go for that double door and start because it's snowballed effectively.
Serrated Dirk online for Doc here. Definitely a very potent barrier. So we check in with the top lane. River was able to get a cheater recall, as is kind of expected in this matchup. You know, Yone, a very strong level 1 champion, kind of dictates the flow of the game. As Lisa's bot lane, there is no flash here.
Here's the flash, jump on his face. Duck with no flash knows that he's in a lot of trouble, and same could be said here for Asta. A fantastic read from Lisa to know that this can take place. Find the avenue, and for it to not be warded and protected, Gudo just lagging a little bit further behind.
Really nice trade there. A window of opportunity that Lisa has correctly identified with no flashes on the bot lane of Mammoth. So they will get 1 kill back. 2 kills rather. 1 going over to Katsuri on this Lucian, which is absolutely where you need these kills to go, right? I mean, besides River, he is basically all of your team's damage. And we saw last game what he could do. Even in the face of a disastrous situation on the rest of the map, he's always capable of providing that damage. So Katsuri in a very nice spot to start this game.
Yeah, definitely cannot afford for either of those carries to fall behind. They need to be that strong point. And Katsuri opting for the press the attack rune choice is going to make sure that if he does get a chance to double tap anybody, they are going to receive a world of pain. Well, Lisa, with a nice reset after having found that kill, is going to then turn its attention towards these Void Grubs and make sure that members do not get Exodia and pick up all 6. Meanwhile, some fancy feet in the mid lane mean that both members find themselves stuck in place, but Emphis a little bit worse for wear.
Emphis will be a little bit worse for wear as the Grubs are taken here by Lisa. You can see that gravitating towards this top side of the map has been successful for him with this Yone pairing, providing so much threat. You know, if you get caught out by a single spell, you can fall down, but this looks like a bit of deja vu here. There's no flash on the bot lane of Katsuri. Here's a dive.
Here's the dive, there's the TP. Katsuri, the focus, dashing away, receiving a heal, and still shielded and protected. The Fate Seal coming out! And it's Asta that gets denied by the tower. It's Yone that picking up the kill as River TP's in beautifully. And Emphis that rotates down. This is the protection that they need.
Nice fight.
There is the kick back to make sure that he's stuck in place. And there it is, handed across to River again. What a fantastic turnaround.
River has absolutely turned it around this game, TPing in to save the dive. It looked very similar to the dive that originally went so Mammoth favored, but crucially the Yone is there. As we take a look again, you can see the instant that a commitment is given, the Yone TP is channeled, and Katsuri luckily managed to live through all of this damage thanks to the W from Milio as well as that warm hug. And River on the back end of this flashes to save Shinky here. I'm not sure if he needed to do that, but it still is a nice play nonetheless. And the Yone, an absolutely huge benefactor out of this play.
Exactly what you want. Your Lucian doesn't die. Your Yone is rewarded for the fact that he makes that visit from top to bot. And they get ahead. I mean, it's just phenomenal that Katsu doesn't fall down in that play. With the amount of aggro that went his way, he dashes and just sits beside that cozy campfire and says, I'm trusting in my supports here. Please keep me going. No, this really
This is risky here.
Yeah, as Nectar is going to crest across into Mega Gnar, hits the stun. As the ult, and I think River, for all the compliments we provide him with, maybe in a sticky bit of situation, is going to dash out the bolt and a flash forward and missing the stun! Oh my god, look at the smile on River's face.
It's brutal from Nectar there. You have to imagine that he probably used the ult earlier to shove out the wave when River did use that TP, so crucially doesn't have that available. Otherwise, would have just been a solo kill going over to that Gnar. Crucially though, River will stay alive here. Pretty even in the CS department in the top lane, so losing that flash really does hurt Nectar. Now there is certainly a window where this Yone can get down towards that kill as it's been found in the bot lane.
So he has been found in the bot lane. He jumps on in with the Glacial Prison and locks down his Freylog counterpart. Aster is gone, Ash is removed, 2 members of Mammoth are rotating, and Gudo is on hot pursuit, looking for the Dragon's Rage. And one target of mine, Shinky knocks into Lisa, which spoon feeds the kill to Dark. Well, that's fantastic. The flash forward piercing arrow as he picks up a double.
Anything you can do, I can do better, say Mammoth. This is the power of that Lee Sin LeBlanc. A very nice kick coming out from Gudo to not only kick Shinky back in, but also to hit Lisa on the back end of that. And as soon as the play goes in the favor of the Direwolves, it's answered back by Mammoth. Duck now, the benefactor, sitting at 3 kills. A very strong position for this Varus, who is now up a decent amount of CS as well.
He certainly is, yeah. Gonna be feeling pretty good about the way that this one has played on out. And opting for the lethality variant, as to be expected of a double Hail of Blade setup. He's gonna be feeling pretty strong. We can see how it all starts off initially. It's just Aster getting aggressive, sidestepping everything, but then getting called out by Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa just here at the right place, right time. Unfortunately, the flash doesn't come out for the Sejuani ultimate, so him getting clipped by that is basically a death sentence. But while Direwolves are busy chasing Duck, here comes Gudo, and it's this kick again. He feels like he almost always has a fantastic kick up his sleeve. And Duck here, just with the tip of that quivering arrow, manages to hit onto Shinky for the double.
Out of the replay and back to what feels like Gudo never actually left, as he's stealing away some Gromp camps right now. But Katsuri with the cozy campfire doing a lot of damage. Emphys here to rock up as well and pick himself up an assist. Meanwhile, topside is Lisa also doing some cannon juggling of his own, offering so much protection for River to crash this fairly stacked up cannon wave and force Nectar back, who is without that flash.
That's a tragic death there from Gudo. I'm not sure what he was doing. Not really respecting the move that Emphys has and the priority that Direwolves were able to use to come down and contest that Krug camp. But him dying is really big because it enables this window where Lisa's already topside for him to take basically everything. One grub will go down, second grub to follow as well. That's 5.
Certainly is. Ash ult from the base not going to connect because Direwolves have already disengaged away from this one. They're happy. A 6 would be a luxury, but 5 is fantastic. And a team that wants to be aggressive in terms of the Yone and Lucian pushing up, well, they've just been handsomely rewarded. And it's a complete turnaround from game 1. I mean, they've actually got the gold lead 11 minutes in. There's no concerns about the game feeling out of control.
None whatsoever, really. You feel quite comfortable looking at both of their carries now as River is looking at Nectar.
Yeah, he's looking for a cheeky 1v1 right now. As he dashes on in, Solemn Bound is an afterthought. It wasn't necessary. And he gets his revenge. He feels justified for how poorly game 1 went.
Vindication must be the emotion that River is experiencing right now. As you can see, that solo kill really furthering the gap in this top lane. Gnar into Yone, a very punishing matchup the second you get behind, and Yone is certainly making us aware of that fact. As the saving grace is the fact that Mammoth manages to get this second dragon. They are working their way towards an Infernal Soul, very similar to the one that they picked up last game. Would be incredibly potent if something like a LeBlanc Varus is able to get this soul.
Yeah, certainly would be. All those back-to-back would make matters worse. Speaking of some power spikes, though, to make things work in favor of Direwolves. They've picked up the Malignant, the Blade of the Ruin King is there as well, and there are double bounties with 3 kills apiece on the 2 carries, the stars of the show for this comp.
And that's all you really want, right? You need those damage dealers to be ahead, but fortunately for the Direwolves, they absolutely are. And like you said, that Blade of the Ruin King coming online is a huge breakpoint for this Yone, because what was once a horrible matchup now becomes even worse. River can just trade like this with no care in the world. Gudo is here though, once he comes out of the...
Oh, my heart skipped for a second there. I'm thinking, don't tell me you're going to slingshot back into the Assault from the base. And then have Gudo ready to kill Secure. It was risky business, but even him with the emote, he's feeling himself.
Absolutely is feeling himself, and I mean, why not here? You're gaining the attention of 3 members from Mammoth who just want to stop a potential dive from coming through. They do also know that there's no flash here, but the ward is crucial. We'll spot them out here. And River, I mean, talk of 180s from game 1. This Fiora that was so useless and just dying time after time in the top lane to come around and have a performance like this on the Yone speaks to the resilience of a player like River.
Absolutely. It doesn't feel like the same person, quite honestly. It's fantastic how he's managed to bounce back from that 2 in 10 performance. And here he goes in. Fantastic flash there away from Nectar, but it's not going to change the outcome potentially. Yes, the Soul Unbound is good. And he's dropped Decker as well. He's not going to die to the turret. 4-0. This Yone is an absolute menace, and can Gudo find him in time? He's gone.
Oh, it's a tragedy for the rest of Mammoth. Nectar, as Asta on the mid lane flashes out.
Wow, both the carries, both the major focal points of this comp, in a split second, have popped off and found their 4th kill.
And meanwhile, bot lane, Darjang is just getting forced out of lane by Emphas on this Karma, so all around the map really plays going in favor of the Direwolves. And their prize for all those kills will be this Rift Herald. It's so important to break open mid lane against this Varus who has such good wave clear. Really turning this game around. I mean, completely night and day different to what we saw in game 1.
It really is, and it's fantastic seeing how Katsuri operates when he's got these 2 supports back to ready to back him up in this mid lane, right? You can see with the likes of Shinky and Emphas there, he takes on anybody. It doesn't matter if it is a scary LeBlanc, he's going for that 1v1. And if it's not you, it's your HP low enough that he's then turning that attention towards the tower for that one to be melted like butter. We'll run back to the replay again, because it's all this aggro initially in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a very dark spot of the map for Mammoth here. You can see that both of these ranged carries needing to pay respect, and Lisa just finds Asta again. It feels like every time he gets caught by a Sejuani ulti, that flash is there, but it's just too late. And Asta falling down again. It's his 4th death. This Ashe not having the value you'd hope, as Gudo is looking for Emphas.
Oh no, the anti-synergy between the kick and the Assault doesn't really work in his favor, and Gudo gets punished for the miscommunication. Darjang is here. The chain looks nice, but even he's forced to distort away to safety. There is no collapse from mid to bot, and the damage continues as Katsuri kills Varus across the wall. That flash looked good, but those auto attacks were always going to connect. Meanwhile, topside, I mean, it just goes from bad to worse everywhere. Direwolves are just winning.
Complete slaughter on the bot lane. Gudo looks for a kick. It's a good kick, but there's just no damage to flash it up. Meanwhile, Nectar.
It's a squishy mini, and a mini Nar cannot survive that one. These ultimates, these Clay Shield tombs, they just lock him in place. And River loves life. That last pick of the Sejuani pairing so beautifully.
What has happened? It almost feels like a complete reverse. You switch the nameplates around, and I could have told you that this is just game 1 all over again. But Direwolves, every side of the map, they are winning. The bot lane, they find the turnaround with Emphas being unbelievably tanky. And topside, it's all about River. But let's take a look at this 80 carry 1v1 in the mid lane. Duck actually opts into this. The Chains of Corruption do go out onto Katsuri, but it's just a Lucian. Once you actually get into auto attack range of this champion, he is so far ahead and he will gun you down.
And it just seems so bizarre to me, Max, when you have got a build designed to poke that you want to engage him in a straight fight head on. And Lucian should just be winning that every day of the week. Rev obviously copying so much damage here, and Nectar feeling strong, but just doesn't respect the amount of range that the Yone ult can cover.
Yeah, he feels a bit baited by those 2 turret shots of River tanks, thinking the Yone is so squishy that he won't go in, but if there's one thing we've learned about River, it's the fact that he will always be looking to go in. You can see there harassing Gudo as he tries to take that Grom. And that soul point that we talked that would be so deadly if Mammoth got it. Direwolves are making sure that remains a distant possibility.
Certainly are. 5k is the deficit now. Direwolves well and truly in the lead with their carries 10-1 as the combined score. They are a force to be reckoned with, and Emphis quite content. Not necessarily grouping up with the rest of the team right now, right? He's already got himself the Malignance. Is he going to opt in for even more damage? It doesn't seem like he's got any care in the world about picking up support items, or he certainly would be grouped with the rest of his team. Lisa more so acting like a support on this occasion as Dajong pops out of the bush, hits the chains and says, I'm terrified of this Yone. Snap back, break his ankles, hit the flash and dodge out on the Glacial Prison.
Judo might have found Emphis here.
Yeah, Emphis, however, is going to fall on down eventually. Finally giving Nectar a bit of reprieve. It's been rough this game. A complete 180 from last. He's no longer the Ude yet, but gets himself that first kill.
And Asta with the Ash Arrow is really the hero of that play. Cross map finds its way onto Emphis. Oh, Dajon, a nice predict from River.
Really nice side step though, however, on the ultimate AR after.
TP.
It's fancy feet from these two as the chains go out, the dash on back and the flank from Nectar. A level advantage for River here, and he's got no HP to boot, but we've seen him take these gambles before. The W, the shield is fantastic. He leaps on in, he dashes, gets knocked on up, and Nectar says, how does this happen? This champion's not balanced.
Oh,
he flashes
River.
there afterwards, finds a second onto Dajong that had been ever so elusive, but then the support Ash finally ends the show, takes him down, and forces Lisa to slowly get whittled down.
Oh, it feels like it's inevitable, but River is just finding kill after kill. He turns on the TP instantly, says, thanks for that one, Nectar. I'll take you down, and takes down Dajong as well. He's just incredibly fed on this Yone now. You can see the Infinity Edge, him just picking that up as well as another crit cloak. Let's take a look again because it's a nice TP. It's a nice idea to collapse upon these Direwolves members, but they just don't respect the fact that River is so far ahead of Nectar. He can completely run him down in the 1v1, and then a very nice flash forward onto Dajong, who doesn't have the passive because of that earlier play, right? There's no confusion to be had. It's just simply a question of DPS, and that Yone has that in spades.
He certainly does. I mean, this guy plays from ahead, no matter what his KDA is. He could be, 2-10 like last game, and he's still going to go forward. He's still going to press the agenda that we are aggressive. We want to win out this game, and we want to see where our gold is right now. Both the carries to the Direwolves comp have 9,000 gold, the most in the game. The only person close, rather, is Duck at 8, and he's already got himself 2 lethality items complete. But this is a Direwolves that have been rejuvenated. I mean, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their coaching conversation and hear what they had to say between games 1 and 2.
Yeah, it would be definitely interesting to hear the conversations that have been taking place there, because really it does feel like a whole different mindset from this team. No longer are they just taking reckless trades. Instead, they are very measured here. They are very keen to move around the map, but the arrow does land.
Perfect ash shot straight down the belly of the beast in the mid lane. Chain Corruption's coming out as well, but Emphis and rocks on up, and Shinky cleanses them out of harm's way. River airballs the ultimately, still gets the kill onto the most fed member of Mammoth, and pursues more. Vision is gained, and then Baron is certainly considered on spawn.
Baron definitely will be the consideration here. No Gudo means no Smite. No Varus either to potentially steal with a Q. And Direwolves 20 minutes into this game there will send River out as kind of a welcoming party for the rest of Mammoth. He's in a pretty precarious position once he takes that E back though, Skimmy. He might just fall down.
He might die before it even happens. The shield is there. The knockback, the kill, and Nectar flashing on in with the ultimate, looking to try and deter them from taking this Baron any further. They've stopped it for the meantime. The Baron well and truly has reset. And they had to certainly expend a fair bit to make sure that was a possibility. I think River there, as we said before, knows no bounds. There is nothing in his vocabulary known as passive.
No, definitely not. Even when it is kind of to his demise there, as you saw. Could have just hit the Baron and tried to play to turn. But let's take a look again. You can see Gudo goes for the flash kick, but it's a really quick reaction from Katsuri on that relentless pursuit to get him out of harm's way, secure the angle so he doesn't get kicked back to the rest of the team, and then from there, River is so strong from this flag position. Enables him to head towards the Baron. And really, Skimmy, just a bit of over-eagerness here from River. He doesn't need to go over here. The rest of Direwolves are still hitting this Baron, and there's no Smite to contest it. But instead looks for more. Like you said, doesn't know what the word passive means. And unfortunately, that will put a stop to the Direwolves Baron's play.
Which seems bizarre, given that your comp is fully built around the Lucian and the Yone. You'd think, surely, yes, zoning is fantastic, but just take that Baron. Your team were in such a prime position to guarantee it. ultimately decides against it in the end. More items confirmed as the Horizon focus comes out now for Emphis. Even more vision reveal as they look to continue to be aggressive in the face of adversity. The Baron obviously was reset. I'm not going to return to that anytime soon, but Katsuri certainly is going to remind Duck who is the boss in this bot lane. Flash is expended, and HP is lost as that mid lane tower now is looking a little bit worse for wear.
Definitely is looking a bit sad there, that mid lane tower, as River feels all too comfortable soloing this dragon. Lisa once again has found Asta.
Certainly has. Facial Prison isn't going to hit anything right now, but Permafrost is good, and that's all the invitation Katsuri needed to then unleash all that damage as a 6-1 carry.
No Dajang in the area means Direwolves feel completely free to continue pushing here. I wonder whether they'll crack the inhibitor. Looks like that will be what they want to go towards. So get yourself some more pressure in that mid lane to open up this Baron. And meanwhile, yes, Dajang gets this tier 1 turret, but look at bot lane. River's cracking open the second tier turret, which is worth so much more. Gold in hand. They're going to base, and you'd have to imagine head out to this Baron.
Certainly would be. Be absolutely crazy if they're the crew. If the game even were to go that late as well for back-to-back Infernal Dragons. An extra, what, 12% extra damage? Certainly doesn't feel too bad when your comp needs as much damage as it can find, and they aren't in any risk of feeling like they are behind when that is the bailout potential. Katsuri face checks everything, nearly falls on down. Nearly actually ran into the Sonic Wave, but in comes Lisa, looking to try and zone them down, hits the ultimate in their face. There is that fate sealed, and their fate most certainly has been sealed, because for the second time in a row, Gudo is the first casualty.
Gudo will fall down, that's huge. There's no Baron smite threat for the side of Mammoth. Kind of like deja vu, but this time hopefully River has learnt his lesson, won't go over needlessly. It's looking like a Direwolves Baron.
He's gone across the wall, but this time he's got the soul to return back to inside that Baron pit. He's sniped away Asta, and Nectar has flash, has ultimate, and he has so much terrain to try and make that one matter. Out goes the ultimate here from Katsuri, so in no way as the Baron gets lower and lower. Still, as you say, no smite still to contest this one. It's at 4k, Dajang is low, Duck can only hit them with the arrows from afar, so the Baron is as good as gone.
Baron will be gone, and with it, so do Mammoth's hopes. It really feels like at this stage, Katsuri and River can do whatever they want, and there is simply not the damage to be able to kill them. It was a really nice play by Gudo and Dajang to try to catch out Katsuri, but even this Lee Sin and LeBlanc point-blank range are unable to take down this Lucian when Shinky is around. So with Baron in hand, they're sending people bot lane. They already have the supers pushing in mid. It's just a matter of time before they get the waves and start pressuring these turrets.
And it must be frustrating for Dajang in particular, right? You're playing a LeBlanc that wants to try and be aggressive, but it's been an incredibly quiet game for him. 0-1-4 at the moment. And has picked up that Dark Seal, unable to really find much more than just the free at this stage, as River is literally doing as he pleases. Why wouldn't he be? It would almost feel uncharacteristic if he wasn't just fully sending it right now. Gets kicked, gets hit with some chains, and finally gets locked on down.
He's just having fun with it here, Skimmy. Like, he really is just going 1v5, going in as deep as he wants, and trusts that his team will be able to clean up whichever is left on the back end. You can see that this Lucian now 6-1-4, 3 items. So strong with this double support comp to empower him. Really feels like anyone who walks up will go down, and that might be Duck.
Certainly looking like the case right now. Lisa has no ultimate. It's not going to deter him from being aggressive as Katsuri. Acts as like a front line with 2 supports ready to empower him. He knows he's got the damage, he's got the protection, and he's got the ability to single-handedly win this game whilst they wait for River to respawn. Duck down for 30 seconds. As Gudo respawns and gets themselves back into the thick of things, but they've taken 2 inhibitors. They're getting closer and closer to find themselves that very first point.
Yeah, their first point, which feels ridiculous to say given how dominant this game has been, but really has been a case that up until now, Direwolves haven't shown this side of them. They haven't shown this dominance from River and Katsuri. You know, he's always been a consistent performer, but it's those members around him who have really stepped up to the plate in this game. And, you know, whilst it isn't done, looking at the inventories of this Yone, of this Lucian, it almost feels like it is. All that's left is to head towards this top lane, break up in that 3rd inhibitor, and end the game.
It feels like to me like the strongest redemption arc I've seen in a very long time. From 10 deaths to 10 kills. It doesn't really get much better than that. As Gudo gets completely bullied out of his own jungle. Everything chucked at him, and despite not hitting, is enough to force him back. at 40% HP. 20 seconds left now on this Baron. Final play would be to knock on that top. The ult comes out here from Katsuri. If they can get down the triple inhibitor, then they would be sitting really pretty. The Ash ult goes wide. The Trinity Corruption's instantly cleansed by Emilio. And now it's a 4v5 base defense. And look, River's not even there. He's sieging mid.
River will be walking the wave in mid here. You can see how much power this Lucian has to dash forward with the 2 shield champions to empower him. And with Nectar dead, that's so much of your frontline, so much of your tankiness out of the window. They don't even care about this third inhibitor. They want to go for the end.
They certainly do want to go for the end right now as one next turret falls on down. Gudo jumps in as River snaps on back. The second turret soon to crumble. 5 Void Grubs. Just too much to bear, especially when you're surrounded by 15 billion super minions as well, knocking on the front door, saying hello to that Nexus and saying Direwolves. That really was a series of 2 halves as they get the victory here.
Where has this Direwolves been? They are just completely different. They step up every single player, just completely transforms from game 1, going from getting absolutely dominated to putting on what is an absolute clinic to secure themselves the draw against Mammoth.
The points tonight then, as we close out Wednesday's entertainment, the points are shared between both these teams at the bottom of the table. 7th and 8th they find themselves right now. An all-important point that could continue their story as they hunt for that final playoffs position.